Alright, now I have managed to crawl back from the depths of hell to retrieve some footage for you. I'm gonna have to probably sort out what specifically is going right or wrong quick before I go ahead and, you know, do anything. Because I do want to make sure that the screen is showing up the way it's supposed to. Alright, the layout is not what I want. And since it's only me in here, it does not matter one bit. We're gonna try doing this. OBS, why you do to me? Why you do this? I think I just genuinely need to go like this and just up around and fan out. Yeehaw. Okay. So stuff I probably should have tweaked before the stream started, but oh well. That looks sort of better. I sure hope so anyway. But yeah, I'm just double checking it on my screen right now. And I will have to silence my dog. It looks a little wobbly. Oh, jeez. Let that sit for a sec. I have a hound who needs to be put to bed. So let me help him get comfortable. And I'll be right back. You know, babies, you look a little lost. Let me help you find your bed. Get it a binky? Oh, good boy. Thank you. Can you stay under there so that I can finish recording tonight? Thank you. He's absolutely wonderful, but he frequently forgets that he needs to not eat his food completely frozen, but if I thaw it out too much for him, he will not actually eat it. So I do almost have to give him his food frozen to an extent. I can do it halfway. He'll let me do it halfway. But just gonna go ahead and drop this link while we're waiting for my brain to come back. But this is the next chunk. I recorded a beginner part of the episode that I'll be putting up later on tonight. But I wanted to make sure I got this taken care of first, just by nature of wanting things to be done and over with. Pretty quick so that nobody had to sit through the slog that I had to go through. So for anybody that didn't get the opportunity to preview the first video, I ended up rolling a Charmander on my questionnaire. And I decided to go with Riolu. If nobody's played this game before, I can't necessarily tell you... I don't know if I could say what the final boss is going to be. All I can tell you is that it's going to be really handy to have a fighting type and a fire type combo, because it's inevitably going to be really hard to get through a lot of other spots without it. That being said, the first couple places we go to, it's going to be a little bit touch and go, just because not all of them are going to be necessarily good or not, but let me do this. And I adjusted the sound a little bit differently, so hopefully it transfers. But on the off chance that it doesn't, feel free to let me know, and I will adjust it for the next stream. But I think I'm just going to let it do what it do. Or you can put it down in the comments too. That always works. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get back to it, now that I've got everything sorted out on my end. And I decided, or not decided, to correct a button that allows me to skip through text, which is pretty fantastic. Oh, man. This great, like, I know it's just a difference of, like, the pixel art and all that, but it's so funny to me that, like, their feet are so obviously smaller than the holes. I think that's just pretty awesome that, like, at any given moment, someone could just, like, yoink you in. And they couldn't get you all the way through, for sure, but they would just, you know, boop, you're done. They can't figure out who we are, which I think is hilarious, because Charmander is single-handedly the most basic Pokemon on planet Earth, other than Pikachu. So, I think it's really funny that there's only one of us in this universe. The ideal universe, in my personal opinion. Like, I'm gonna have that, you know, controversial opinion. Like, I like Charmander and Charizard and all that fine, but there's just so much of him now, you know? Like, he's everywhere. And he's everywhere because he's, you know, he's effective, you know? He's really cool, and he looks cool, and he fights really well, and all that good stuff. But, like, if they spent half that time putting it in other starters, you know, or just in general, like, other Pokemon, like, there's a really decent chance that they could have, you know, had an extra Charizard on hand. Oh, this music is so great, though. I just want to sit and appreciate it for a sec. You wonder if they're all exploration teams. Well, if they're not, I certainly hope that they're not here because they want us to do shit for them. I think that would be... Let's see. He's straight up calling us the Girl Scouts over here. We're not just going door to door, my guy. We're here to take names and kick ass. Is the training that severe? Not if my memory serves. I think it's very generous to call it severe after you've actually played through the game. Like, if you're not the main protagonist of this game, training is actually, like, super straightforward. It's very small town vibes, actually. And then, basically just giving you a quick idea of, like, who the Guildmaster is going to be and all that. And I genuinely have seen this before, with the randomizers where the Pokemon changes a little bit. And I absolutely adore what some of these Wigglytuff stand-ins turn into. I think it's very funny. Because, like, they'll still, like, use, like, Wigglytuff as, like, the photo, and they'll use them as, like, the figurehead on the building and all that, but the Pokemon inside is, like, always super different. One time someone got Dusknoir, and that, to me, was honestly really funny. Considering things. Alright, aw, buddy! Long time no see! We didn't think of a team name, huh? Well, we're not doing Pokepals. I didn't figure out how to use a back button yet on the keypad, so you'll have to tolerate me for a little longer here. Okay. I have a name because it's based on my friends and I and what we do. As it's an inside joke. We're gonna be team... Yippee! Okay. And... Yeah! There'll be extra emphasis! Dude, he sounds so shook. Yeah, baby! We're our own hype squad now! We're just walking around shouting it all over the place. I love it. Okay. Yumta! Fucking love him. It sounds like everyone's having a little party every time they talk about us. Let's see. Explorer's badge. I like how there's only one Explorer's badge. Like, if you got separated and, like, only one of you had it, does, like, your credibility just die? Or, like, is there secretly, like, a second one in there? Or, like, maybe they give you one, I suppose, but I always thought that was kind of funny. Special bands. Ooh, special bands are great. Yes, they are special. My man's pulling out the old man puns. Let's see here. Yippee! I'm gonna go to bed early. You kidding me? This has been such a weird day. I'm not sleeping. Yeah, Wigglytuff is not... He's very menacing in the best way possible. But it doesn't show up for a while, thankfully. I do not like Chatot, though. I think he's definitely a funny guy. Like, he's grown on me, for sure. He used to be super annoying. Like, imagine being, like, a little 7-year-old kid trying to play this game. And, like, having this dude walking around, like, yelling at you and stuff. It's, like, it eats at you. And you kind of just want Wigglytuff to just fucking drop kick him across the continent. And then you realize that he's kind of just the guy that got saddled with making sure everybody else doesn't walk off a cliff. And he's just always, like, on edge. And you kind of have to appreciate how just hilarious his character is, conceptually. We are going to save. His job is keeping us from taking ourselves off the census. That's all I'm going to say. And I might do a little voice acting here and there where I feel more comfortable, but I will probably spend most of my time talking kind of like this. Occasionally reading out a little piece of dialogue. Oh, this dude's definitely been in the army before. He's just a drill sergeant. Like, we can call it that. Also, what is that picture, though? Look at him. Look at his face. Really doesn't even have a face anymore. He's got a nose and an eye, and that's about it. Oh my goodness. I love pixel art so freaking much. Oh, more games like this, please. Let's see. Yeah. We are not gonna fuck around and find out with Wigglytuff, thanks. Get back in gear. I was never in gear in the first place. We totally overslept. The light of the heavens is shining through your window and you thought maybe you were on time? Illusions. Oh my god. There's someone else tuning in. Hell yeah. Not sure who. But, you know, hopefully you'll have a good time all the same. I'll do my best. If you make your voice heard in the chat, I can tailor my jokes a little bit towards you, because you're probably the only person that will watch tonight. That's not to say other people might not join, of course, but, like, you know, statistically, it's right after Thanksgiving, so a lot of people are kind of burning off their extra energy, and just kind of crashing at home. Not a lot of people necessarily want to engage with the live stream, but I really just kind of wanted to unwind a little bit and unpack and just deal with life a little later. So this way I'm talking to the void rather than forcing someone else to listen to me talk for too long. Now people can turn me off, you know? Oh, you know, to the contrary where I turn a lot of other people off. That's not the point. Oh my god. I wish they had like a button, right? Like a button for people that have already played this game before, where you can fast forward through some of like the forced walking scenes. Like, I have played this game before. The assignments are, you know, very distinctly, like, they're kind of fun, actually. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, like, they're entertaining exactly, but, like, in all reality, they're a really good opportunity to, you know, get used to, like, how things work and just kind of stack up on experience. I usually try to get, in the early game, at least 1 to 2 levels out of each dungeon, because almost all the dungeons that you go into are going to be, like, objective dungeons. Like, you're going in for a job, you're doing something, that's, like, narratively relevant. So, like, to progress the game, you have to do it. And the other thing that you really want to keep in mind with this game, too, is, like, the dungeons themselves, they're really just, they're kind of hard to get through, but, like, you really do want to spend as much time as you can looking for stuff in them, because what you don't keep, you can sell, and what you find that's valuable, you can store away, because I promise you're not going to need it all that much in the actual early gameplay. It's the latter half of the game, and when we get to that point, I won't tell you what, like, will happen, but I will let you know when you'd want to have a full inventory full of stuff that's definitely like, you need this. And it happens a couple times, but there's an earlier point rather than like at the end of the game where you definitely want to have extra stuff, because you kind of, it's hard to explain, but like, you can't necessarily access your stuff the regular way. So it's important that you have stuff in your inventory. And you'll want to have items that you've grabbed early on that you didn't need to use, so that you can use it at that point. So keep that in mind in the early game. The sins do stack eventually, so if you miss out on something in the beginning, you're almost positively going to miss out, especially on gaining levels, because when it gets hard, it gets really hard really fast. And the game itself will stay about as stagnant in terms of, like, how far you can progress, based entirely on, like, how much work you've put in on each of the dungeons. So, like, if you don't battle anything, you're ultimately gonna have to put in the exact same amount of footwork against, like, bosses and events and stuff. Ooh. Sorry, buddy, that was my bad. Yeah, because, like, if you don't gain any experience and you don't level up proportionally to, like, what you are currently at, it's not going to be easy for you to, like, defeat bosses that are at, like, a much higher level than you, you know? Like, so it's really important that you get that taken care of early. And like I said in the initial entry episode, I am going to go through every floor at least once in its entirety so that I can get the full scope of, like, items and experience points, like this. So I could have that. And that's pretty good. So that means that whenever I gain a level, for the most part anyway, unless one of us does a disproportionate amount of fighting each, our experience level should stack about the same, so that we won't ever be too far behind. Which is actually kind of a big problem. So depending on who your partner Pokemon is really early in the game, you could be gaining levels like crazy, but because they're not at the front of your party, it actually can be really hard for them to catch up once you've gotten a bit ahead, or vice versa. If you have a Pokemon with a really slow growth rate compared to your partner, there's actually situations where your partner Pokemon could be like a good 2 to 3 levels in front of you, just purely because they're gaining experience in the background, but their level is a lot easier to boost. Ooh, okay. Let's see here. Oh, Anorith, you ass. Give me my rock. Give me my rock. Thank you. Geopebbles are definitely a lot better than I gave them credit for. They're really useful, like, if you have a Pokemon that is, like, you know is gonna be pretty strong, but you don't want to waste a turn either doing, like, a fake lunge or, oops. Yeah, I forgot you can't do that across water. It has to be, like, a real move. Ooh, Sleep Seeds. Okay. No, but, if you have an opponent that you know is gonna be stronger, and if you waste that turn trying to get them closer to you as opposed to just, like, letting them, like come to you, the rocks are really good for that because they can provide a little bit of a damage hit without actually, sacrificing, like, a space where they could have the first move in, like, actual combat once they get close enough. Which is really nice. Oop. Yeah, we're gonna battle this guy, I guess. Damn it, Riolu. So, I was trying to say it earlier, but when you are in, like, on land or in water, you can't attack your opponent, from either one with the neutral attacking move. You have to use, like, a very distinct move. Otherwise, it will just say that it missed. So, that's always kind of fun. If you have a Pokemon that's a water type, you can actually walk on the water. Or I think there's an item maybe where you can temporarily use it. Let me unlock a new move. So Chingling, I think, is still Steel in this game, so he should get absolutely toasted. Let's try it. Yeah, okay, that's super effective. Good, good, good. Let's see, we don't want to unpack the good stuff, because Anorith is pretty small potatoes. He's pretty easy. They get a little harder a little earlier, or a little later on in the game, I mean. And then, what's kind of interesting, and it makes sense though, if a physical move misses on a counter, I think it used to be in the old game where if you were really unlucky, technically, sometimes your opponent could still, like, reverse the damage it would have done back to you. It could just be my memory being really bad, or seeing maybe, like, a mod of it at some point, but I was pretty sure that that was maybe, like, an old feature in the original game. And then it got a little better. They fixed it in this one for sure. If it was a thing, if it wasn't a thing, then that's different, but, yeah. Man, these stairs are nowhere to be found. Nope. We're gonna hit you with that fire right away. Because, yeah, that is doing nothing to you. I cannot move, buddy. Yeah, thank you. They're like, oh, it's okay, I can play. Okay, there we go. I unlocked stupid walking. Okay. Yep, and that's the end of that floor. We've already gone through 3 floors? Really? We're on the 4th one right now? In that particular case, I am gonna use a second here to pardon me. Alright. Pardon me again. I'm only pulling out the pardons for you. I do not typically apologize for my own burps. This might be an instance where he levels up and I don't. Yep. So, the further into the game you get, the more that the growth rates tend to either flatten out or, like, change. Ooh, that's not good. We don't want a flinching move taken over. Oh my god. Let me do something. Thank you. So we were just doing a lot of posturing for a second there. Okay. There we go, yeah. So it just kind of depends a little bit. I think technically he's been doing more fights than I have. Oops. Give me one moment, please. Alright. So, I just got news that my grandfather has passed away. It's gonna seem really weird that I'm gonna go back to playing my game after news like that, but in this particular situation, this is gonna get a little content trigger warning-y for a lot of people, so if you don't want to hear about this kind of stuff, go ahead and just skip ahead about 5 minutes. I'll try to keep it short if I can. But just for... He's been pretty sick for a while. And the last couple days we went to visit him, he was doing that that old person thing where he was kind of like pointing up at the ceiling and like smiling at people that weren't there, and just kind of, in general, he couldn't move, he couldn't talk. He moved a little bit when my brother came home from basic to, you know, give him a proper farewell and everything, because, you know, I think that's ultimately what he was waiting for. But, yeah, my folks are already on their way. They've specifically asked me not to come just because they don't want to have a bunch of people crowding up the room and making it harder for the medical staff to do their job, so I think for now the best thing that I can possibly do is just focus on finishing the stream for a while. I will maybe need a moment in a little while here just to kind of debrief and take a break and just kind of process that for real, but I'm not going to leave everyone else hanging either. So, for those of you tuning back in, I'm not going to talk about the graphic stuff, but I will just make a point of saying that I've been in this one for a while, and I've long since made my peace about this just because it's been such a long let-up process. So I will be fine. I'm going to be totally fine. My mom inevitably won't be, but I'll be there for her in real life later. She just doesn't want me to be a part of that equation right now. I'm just glad that he's not, you know, in pain anymore. To me, that's the most important thing, ultimately, that I could ask for, you know? Oops, that's not what I want. Still need to figure out how to use a back button on my keyboard as opposed to the mouse. Exit that. Okay, so then I wanted to figure out... There we go. Oops. Yeah, we got there eventually. So let's tackle you first, just because I got a super effective move for you. There we go. Well, that went pretty smooth, huh? I gotta finish up this floor, and then I'll go back for, the stairwell. Man, it's been a very eventful last couple weeks, man. Like, between just the preamble to this, and then the holidays, and then my brother finally coming back into the state, it's been a very I'm gonna say interesting. It's probably the best and the kindest word I can use to describe all these events. Ooh, max elixir. So I'm glad that I can just kind of unpack and unwind for a minute and just kind of deal with this as it's coming through. I found a lot of clarity in the last few weeks too, which is really nice. Just some stuff that's been helping me sort through it, you know? If anything, I mean, it sounds perhaps maybe a little more on the selfish side of things, but the entire time watching this all happen, you know, with him and just getting closer and closer, just kind of reaffirmed why I need to just make sure that I don't end up the same way. Not dead, obviously, like, I can't avoid death, but I just want to make sure that every step that I make going forward is a proactive one towards making my life as healthy as it can be, so that when it's my time to go, I have as good of a chance of having a healthy death, I guess, if that makes sense. Just as... Of course, none of us can decide that, but if there's any way to reduce that risk, you know, you might want to... Oh, getting hungry. Okay, so then... Good time to approach this. So when you're in this game, you can incur hunger. Basically, what hunger does is it makes it so that eventually if you don't eat enough to satisfy your hunger, you will start losing health points. Your partner Pokemon, I don't think gets hunger debuffs at any point. There might be some conditions that a move can occur on a Pokemon that can cause it to have hunger debuffs, but I don't think you start having any issues with that necessarily until the later half of the game. I think at that point you both have to keep your hunger bars up, but like the first beginning half for sure, I don't remember having to ever do any kind of hunger temperament on my partner Pokemon. It was just my hunger bar. But they cannot heal themselves, so you'll have to make sure that if you do... Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Perfect time to introduce this concept. Let's throw one. Boop! And then when they get there, you just... Doosh. Because I could have just, you know, done a little enter hit and, you know, called it a day and let them come up to me, but you know, why not get some extra damage in while you're at it, right? But yeah, no, the Hunger Bar generally only applies to you as the player. Your partner Pokemon generally only have to have help healing, and they can't do it. I think there's an IV that you can give them that allows them to make the decision for themselves. The only time that they'll heal themselves, technically, is if they're currently holding an item that you've given them that specifically aids in their healing. Or like a seed of some kind that lets them use like a special stat move. They'll use those sometimes. I don't generally like giving status seeds to my partner Pokemon. I always like giving them healing items, and I kind of do for myself as well, because not necessarily all the time, but in this game specifically, there's a weird condition where if you get confused, sometimes your partner Pokemon will use that seed, and if their aim is wrong, best case scenario, they still use it on the enemy. But more often than not, it ends up going nowhere, or even worse, it'll end up hitting you, and then you'll have that status condition on top of everything else. Oh, damn it. Yeah, he'll be able to... No, well... Nah. Screw it. Let's kick his ass. Yeah, so if you're not noticing a recurring theme, it's basically everything that starts becoming a pain in the rear, it starts popping up right around, like, the midpoint of the game. Just because they want the natural progression of everything to go relatively smoothly. Oh! Hello. Sorry, Emmy, I didn't realize that was you. Gonna send you a little reply there. But yeah, I'll be alright, don't worry. Let's see here. Got the pearl. And what I'll probably do is I'll put myself on a brief break after this particular segment. It'll be about maybe 5 minutes of nothing happening, and then I'll be back at the desk and I will be able to keep going. I just want to make sure that I can get a chance to have a quick think, have a sit, get a little snack in me. A second time, maybe. If I've already said that, maybe I'll have 2 snacks. And just make sure that I rehydrate my throat a little bit. But if I feel like I want to press on, we'll see. But, yeah. So far, I think I might be the only one that's still on screen. So, there's always that. Oh yeah, so, like, this is bullshit. This specific piece is bullshit. So what happens is if you do all the work, you get 200 instead of 2,000. So you get 10% cut. Which, if anybody's ever done a business deal, like, literally ever, that's a real shit deal. Because that's typically, it's usually like a 40-60, maybe 50-50 if everyone plays nice. 60-40 usually is like the more common. One way or the other, I'm pretty sure. Or it just seems weird. It seems real weird. We'll make sure that we can get through these credits really quickly. I like this music a lot, though. If you're ever looking for really relaxing music just to kind of sit and vibe with sometime, I highly recommend grabbing like the image file of this actually, like at some point in the future. And then stacking that on top of this music and just letting it roll. It's a good time. It's definitely up there on my list of like fun music. That's nice to relax you. Top of the list always has been and always will be the Animal Crossing background music, just because no matter where you go on that playlist, there's nothing that makes your blood pressure go up, you know? Usually, these days when I play video games, if I'm not playing it expressly to lose my, my sanity, then I am typically doing it to relax. Most of the time I'm doing it to relax, so I don't really need to hear all the feedback or anything, but yeah, so I'm gonna leave it here for about maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I'll be back up on it in just a second. Alright, back to it. Now I think we will save and continue. Alright, save's done. Had a chance to kind of double check all my messages and make sure just that I'm not missing anything. I have work in about 12 hours, or not 12 hours, 10 hours. So what I'll probably need to do is, you know, call this a night. I want to wrap up the stream. I took a little mini break there just for a second. But what I will probably do is take a break after getting to the next checkpoint, or the next time I can do a save I will, and then I'll call it a night from there, just because I do want to make sure that I'm not being irresponsible. At least when I get up in the morning I don't have to heat up my car or anything. My apartment building thankfully fosters a pretty good heating system underground. So even though it's 9 degrees outside, my car is usually about 68 when I get out there, so... But I have to get up at like maybe 8 in the morning-ish, and then I have to go to work from there, so... I'm probably gonna get up a little earlier than that, though. I've got some new protein pancakes that I'd very much like to enjoy. I think it'd be very nice to have some protein pancakes for breakfast. It's been kind of a long week and a kind of a rough night, so if I can start my morning off, like I bought myself some strawberry jam to mix into my strawberry muscle milk. Still haven't finished mine from today. I probably should do that and then prepare my morning drink so I don't have to do too much footwork in the morning. Thankfully my roommate's not home today, so I can have the place all to myself. I always liked Bidoof, though. He's one of my favorite characters. Didn't stand out to me too much back when I first played the game, but, like, I don't know. He's just a nice little silly guy. Look at his little cheekums. Look at him. He's very squishable, you know what I mean? Like, you could just squeeze him like a little hamster, just he's also very steppable, unfortunately. Like, it's actually amazing to me how little his character gets demolished just on a routine basis by, like, people that just want to kick him out of the way. You know what I'm talking about? But, generally speaking, on a team, he's really sturdy. You'll have to partner up with him a couple times. I think it's a couple times, at least, for missions and stuff. And he does really good at, like, tanking hits and things like that. So, he's actually a really good asset to have later on. But, Bidoof, just in general, honestly, is just really fun. So, this right here is where I'm probably going to hit my save in just a second. But this is going to be a lot of expo dumping. So, basically, he's just taking everyone to Treasure Town to kind of give him the tour. And it's actually, there's a lot of nice stuff to deal here. Obviously, you have, like, the standard stuff like the bank, because, you know, you want to make sure your money doesn't get lost. And I would recommend doing that really early on in the game. So anytime you come back from a dungeon, the next morning before you do anything else, because you do get to choose when you leave for your missions. You could stop at other places beforehand. It's always a good idea to both drop off your money, but first, go check out the shop and make sure there's nothing to be bought and then stored away or taken with you before depositing everything else. That way you can kind of consistently keep all your goods good and all your money safe, because you can use it later on for some pretty expensive stuff. And anything that you don't like or that you've gotten that you don't foresee yourself using, you can sell it to make room. Because eventually at the storage facility, there is going to be a point where you will actually run out of room. Like, there's going to be a limit to what she can hang on to. And you'll want to eventually start taking things out and selling it. So I just recommend cutting it off at the bud and just going ahead and selling anything that you think might be inconsequential. Like plain seeds, for example. The only thing that they can technically be used for in a pinch is to, like, help curb your hunger just a little bit. But it works for like 5 seconds. Like, if you're walking, it doesn't last more than like maybe 20 minutes, so it's not really worth it. Let's go ahead and start doing some housekeeping here. So I'll go ahead and give you a quick example. So we have $492. In my opinion, I don't think we should necessarily need to put that away just yet, because there is always the chance that we will need it for something that's in the shop. Now this place is actually really cool. So right now it's basically just a piece of rubble on the ground, but this place, what it basically does is it simulates a dungeon, but if you die, you don't lose your stuff that you went in with. Pretty sure, and you get to keep stuff that comes out, but it's basically a dungeon. I think some of them are finite, where you can go in them and then you can beat them, but I think a couple other ones are designed to be forever dungeons, and then you just keep going until you die, basically. Okay, so let's do this. So we'll let you buy stuff first. I would recommend buying these. We'll have to sell something? Okay, fine. Oh, man. Is it not gonna let me... Uh-oh. How do I... saw all of it. What would my L button be now? It's Q. Okay. We're making progress. We don't need the Geo Pebbles. We don't need that. Petrifiers are fine. Not super necessary right away. I do want to hang on to... Oh, these are really good, actually. Okay, so these items here we'll get rid of. And the monetary value doesn't matter for me right now because I need to make room in my inventory specifically for one of these. Max elixirs, reviver seeds, any kind of like supplement, like a vitamin. All of those are fantastic. Alright. Ooh, I found the back button. We're good. We're gonna get a little bit of plot, because it's not gonna let me save or anything just yet, but these guys are just itty-bitty. And they've taken on a whole new love, in my heart just after playing a few, like, randomizer Nuzlocke or just general playthroughs where I finally used Azumarill. And, like, I liked them plenty when I was younger, because, you know, they're small and they're fun to look at, and their characters are really, really cute in this game, too, but, now that I've actually seen what they can do in combat, I absolutely love the whole line Marill Azumarill. I just think they're funny. Azumarill, for a lot of reasons, is really fun, but I specifically love Azumarill. I have an unhealthy level of, like, water-type plushies where it's either, like, the most distinct balance between it's either the final stage or the first stage and nothing in between. My controversial water type, one of my favorites, I should say, maybe not my ultimate favorite, definitely not, but I absolutely love Wingull. I think he's great. Oh boy. Let's see. Oh, it's really subtle, but they brought the brightness down just a little bit for a second there on the rest of the screen. That was awesome. Yeah, so that was, that's something that it's gonna pop up a lot. It does get a little bit more clairvoyant eventually, but for now it's just very faint. Yeah, no, but like, not especially a big fan of Marill. I think it's one of those Pokemon, like, if it was, like, Pokemon was a real universe, right? I personally think I would probably end up with Marill just because it feels like a very easy pet Pokemon. Like, it just looks like it would be a pet. You know what I'm talking about? Like how Yamper's a pet, very obviously, or like, I think Bulbasaur would be like a collector Pokemon for reptile enthusiasts. Mainly because they wouldn't be able to stop arguing if it was a plant or an animal. I think that's great. But Wingull is just... He's in my top 10 in the last couple years. I just think he's really fun. He's got those dopey little eyes that are looking at nothing. But I despise Pelipper. He would be a little bit more appealing if his usual gameplay stats weren't just absolute garbage. He's really good at one thing specifically, and it's having good HP. The problem is he's a combined flying and water type, so there's like a list of things that are really effective against him, and unfortunately there's one that's still 4 times effective. It's like the Gyarados problem, except that Pelipper can't learn Dragon Rage. I don't think. I don't know. New generations are weird. Or if it's a randomizer, I suppose. I might play randomizer sometime. I would find that really fun, actually. Alright. Ugh, drowsy. Love the music in this game. I'm just like taking my time here. figuring out what all the different instruments are. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people say they're real, Lou. I wouldn't really say that necessarily. I think, you know, you don't exactly walk around announcing that you're a kidnapper. I think that's kind of against the credo. Let's see. Let's go ahead and drop off my loose change here. Gonna put the whole kit and caboodle. Okay, and then that's how you walk really fast, too. Alright, beautiful. And then we are gonna save for now, call it a night, because I had a goal to wrap up around 11. I don't know how well I succeeded, but I sure appreciate everybody tuning in. All the people that are tuning in now or might tune in later in the future. I sincerely hope that I can do this again. I would love to be able to do this tomorrow night, actually, quite a few times over, so keep your fingers crossed that I come across that free time. And I'll work on making some better thumbnails and just stuff like that in the meantime to spruce everything else up as well. But I will go ahead and talk to you guys later. Thank you so much. Have a great night and take it easy.